Okay, today I'm going to do a overview of the Yamaha, the the C-70 and the M-70 amplifier. C-70 being the control amplifier or the preamp. Um, this is a really nice set I found. Got a really good deal on it, and this thing was absolutely mint. And then bringing it in the door, I nicked the corner right there. This guy sold me this like brand new condition set of these, and I happened coming inside. But I've owned them for a few years. I don't use the C-70 a whole lot. Generally only when I'm listening to a lot of vinyl, because it has an amazing phono section in it. I mean, I'm sure there's preamps out there that are better, but I'm not ashamed at all to use a C-70 in my system. I'll put it that way, I guess. And then the M-70 is a really good complement. I mean, they were made to work together. One thing you'll notice on this, I want to get this fixed, but the bulb went out on the power button on here, because I like how they look when they're on, because they light up orange, like the Yamaha burnt orange that they use for most of their displays. Then I'll go over the C-70 real quick. You see here, it has this disc direct. What that does is cut everything out of the signal path that doesn't need to be there, from the phono preamp to the output to the amplifier. And then you also have all your different things that you can hook into here. It has like a couple auxiliaries, a couple tapes, so you could hook 4 different items in here, and then also a tuner on top of that. Or you could do 5 of whatever, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Phono, of course, you only want to use that with the turntable, because it's gonna, it's a really weak signal, whereas every other signal is gonna be line level. So if you put anything line level into that, it would not sound right. Yeah, so hook whatever you want into those. So you can hook quite a few things up to this. Of course, with only RCAs. And then they have like the disk drive. I'll show. So what that does is, this has this onboard, if I can get enough light in there, it's a parametric EQ. And I don't know if you're not familiar with a parametric EQ, it varies, because most EQs, the width that you're boosting and the frequency that you're boosting, those will be set at a very specific amount. The width and then the frequency, those are both set. This one, it's variable. You can pick any of these frequencies on here, so you can go from 31.5 cycles up to looks like 800, and you can select anywhere in that range to boost. And then you can select the width with this back. There's like a dual knob here. I don't know if you can see that. So the back knob, you can select the width. And then this is the amount, which would be on a normal EQ, the plus, or minus dBs. And this is the same way, where middle will be 0, and then plus, minus, at that selected frequency. And then it goes to, that's the low, and then it has a high, which goes from 800 all the way up to 20,000. And then you select whatever you're at. I'm at like 6.5. And then, the width, so how many frequencies on either side of that are getting pulled with it, and then the amount. And so that's what a parametric EQ. But when you do that disc direct, it takes the parametric, they call it the parametric tone control here. You can see at the bottom of the plate that flips down. So when you use this, the disc direct, it gets rid of all that and everything else in the signal path. Subsonic filter, you can turn that on or off. There's all kinds of things, but all those, that no longer is in the signal path when you select the disc direct. Other than that, this is just pretty straightforward. Right here is where you select what signal you're going with, whether alt, tape, or tuner, or phono, which is what I have it set to. And then it has all these different cartridge selections. So depending on the cartridge you bought, its sensitivity, and then also on the back, there's a setting for moving magnet or moving coil. So there's two different types of cartridges. And this specifically, you can set up specifically for what you have. and I set this one for, this is a moving magnet, and I think I looked up the specs for this Grotto cartridge. It's a F1 Plus that's on the turntable that I'll be using today, and I believe that was the specs I looked up, so I got dialed in for that. And then there's a balance control left or right. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So go ahead and turn that on, and then here the mute's on currently. Select phono, and you can hear a big click in the back whenever you select something. Like it's a really satisfying click when you select something, because there's a what do they call it, like a relay clicking on and off as you're selecting the different ones. It's I don't know, it's a really nice, really neat preamp. And then here, unfortunately, this power button's off, but I'll fire up this. And then also I have this right now. It's everything here on the meter is going to be times 10. Or no, actually, it's actually like it's times 0.1. So it'll show 10 times what it's saying on here. So like this would be 2 watts right there. That would actually be 0.2 watts. Just so that I can show the meters more and not have to crank this thing way up. But I love the meters on the M series of Yamaha amplifiers. This one, the M-70, I don't know. It's a really nice sounding amplifier. I only use it once it gets cold out like it is now, because this thing is a space heater and it will heat the room right up, and then I don't want it overheating, so I only use it in the winter. It's Class A, and so it's just it's always if it's not using it for sound, it's dissipating it through heat. So and then it's got the level controls, but I keep those all the way up. The only time I've ever used those is when I bi-amped some speakers. I did it to match that with the output of the RX V2092, because this is less power than this is. So I didn't want to be putting more power to the low end and less power to the high end. I wanted to match the speaker. So I use those controls for that. So if anybody's wondering why do they have those on there when you always use them pegged usually, well, that'd be why. That way, you can do things like that with it. But anyway, I don't have it bi-amped. I just have them hooked up to the Klipsch Chorus 2s. And I'm going to try to play some stuff on there. See if this thing decides to work today. It's a real finicky player. Like you can see right now, the strobe light's on. Let's see where it goes. Oh, it might even drop down at the beginning of the record. And why am I not getting... All right, I had to figure it out here. I haven't hooked this up in a while. I did something hooked up wrong. I had the phono. There's a bunch of different selections back there, and I just had it hooked into a different one. So I had to. There's like a little button here because you can hook up 2 different turntables to this, and then you can hit this little button. It's a tiny button. I don't know. It's hard to get light in there. Right there. And whether you're on turntable 1 or 2, I had to figure it out. But I'm using the disc direct, so it's the EQ is not being used currently. And but anyway, yeah, so that's hit stop this turntable, and then it should turn off. Oh, why are you going back? You gotta make sure this is at 0, and then set it down. It should go off. There it goes. And it'll turn itself off there. But anyway, yeah, I haven't used some of this equipment in a while. it's really nice when they're both working because it just has a nice look, this orange box or whatever, and then you got the level meters going. I really liked this setup. Fortunately, I don't use it too often. This doesn't have a remote, so I mean you got to come up here and adjust the volume anytime you want to change the volume. So the convenience factor, the 2092. But if I'm going to listen to a whole lot of vinyl, I will break out this setup and run this. But I was switching over to the M-70 anyway for the wintertime. The MX2, it's a different beast. This thing just sounds a lot better overall to me. It's a different sound. The low end rock and stuff, the MX2 kind of handles it actually a little bit better. This is 200 watts a channel. This is 150. But for whatever reason, the low end, this thing can control the low end of a cabinet like nobody's business. So, overall, I would say the M70 is maybe a cleaner sounding amplifier. But anyway, just a little demonstration and a little go over the C-70 M-70. I might do a more extensive video, but I kind of had technical difficulties on this one because I just hooked this up. That's all for now.